any sustainability manager shouldn't be doing this by themselves. Something like human rights and modern slavery needs to be addressed by a company-wide, an organization-wide approach. And sustainability is one important part of that, but it needs to look across the whole company for this to really work.
Thank you, Robin, for joining me today. Just to start off with, could you give me a brief background about yourself and the work that you've been doing within the sustainability domain for the last decade or so?
Great to be here today. Over the last decade, Vikram, I started in the property and construction sector and have moved through to really focus on sustainability. Working with the Green Building Council of Australia for nearly 9 years on how we rate, how we assess Australia's green buildings and communities. And then in the last 3-4 years, really focusing on the supply chain element. I've been leading the Supply Chain Sustainability School here in Australia, but looking at where the products, the services, the materials that go into our buildings, our properties, our communities, our infrastructure, where they come from, what we know about them, and how we improve those over time.
Excellent. So you have a great experience in the construction industry. Can you give me some specific issues that resonate within the construction industry supply chain?
So here in Australia, the supply chains of the buildings, the communities, the infrastructure projects that we build are incredibly complex, not just geographically, spreading around Australia and of course around the world for materials and products and services, but they are multi-year, they are multi-billion dollar, but they're often multi-manager. So because a major infrastructure project may last for 7 or 8 years, you get people who start on the project and then who hand over to people that haven't necessarily got the relationships or the understanding or the engagement with those suppliers. So a typical large contractor or construction firm may have 30, 40, 50,000 suppliers. Some of whom are sporadic, they work with them once every few years, some of whom are regular. And so these are very complex supply chains to try and assess and address issues.
So Robin, considering the construction industry is so complex, what are the key issues that resonate within this supply chain from the sustainability domain, and what is the progress that's being made in the environmental as well as the social aspects?
Over the last decade, there's been a real change in focus within the sustainability domain, not just here in Australia, but Asia Pacific as well. Go back 10 years and there was very much a focus on environmental issues, energy, water, waste. And so some of the rating tools which have emerged have been quite focused on those to begin with. There's been an expansion into economic sustainability and issues around risk, around resilience of projects and of economies, and also around sustainable procurement with the emergence of the Sustainable Procurement Standard. And now I guess the lens is focusing really firmly on social sustainability topics, and that includes social value, social enterprise, it includes health and well-being, and of course human rights and modern slavery has come within that. So it's very difficult to try and work with sustainability managers or with teams to try and encourage them not to look just at the new thing, but to expand their focus to take in environmental, economic and social issues all at the same time.
So Robin, if an organization was implementing and developing a human rights supply chain strategy, whether they were starting from scratch or they were making incremental changes, what pool of resources would you direct them towards?
Great question, because I think it's something that a lot of organizations from small, medium-sized enterprises to big multinationals are dealing with. It's really important to remember that there's a lot of materials already out there. There's a lot of resources that you can get to online for free. You can go to universities, you can look at NGOs. Here in Australia, for example, there's Stop the Traffic or Anti-Slavery Australia. You can look at resources like the Supply Chain Sustainability School, which already exists in the UK and in Australia. There's a whole wealth of resources that are there to try and not just educate your organization, but show how the pieces connect. The UN Guiding Principles, for example, underpin a lot of the human rights and modern slavery conversation. So knowing how to reference those in a strategy, in a policy, is really important. And then the development of the work that will go on underneath that, again, lots of resources for people to make best use of, because you don't have to start this afresh. There's a lot to take advantage of already.
So Robin, what would be your top 5 tips for sustainability managers working in the construction domain in terms of what they need to do to implement a progressive and excellent policy?
I guess there's really 5 things for a sustainability manager to try and remember. The first is that this is about incremental change over time. This is not about jumping straight to perfect. This is about each year being better than the one before. So improvement over time incrementally and making sure that that's measured. The second is really about involving the voice of the worker. Now that's a phrase that we tend to see in textbooks, we tend to hear in the media. But the voice of the worker, hearing from the people, not just your employees, but your subcontractors' employees, the people right the way through the supply chain, is really important. It's a valuable way to get feedback about what's going on. And it's also a good indicator when other things may be going wrong, maybe a miss elsewhere in the supply chain. One of the other things to remember is that it's important to look for transparency, not perfection. The point of the new Modern Slavery Act here in Australia is about transparency, is about having supply chains that people can look through, not about having the most perfect supply chain. It's also important to work with suppliers. So not to try and do things in isolation and try and get your organization and your employees in a state of perfection, but to work with your suppliers and to use this as an avenue for collaboration, to get to know, to educate, to engage with suppliers around these issues. And last, and probably the most important one for me that I keep saying, is focus on the people, not the process. You get a lot of great policies which focus on the process, establishing a procedure, but which totally miss the fact that they're about real people. So where you can tell stories about people in the supply chains, and you can focus on making things better for them, you have a much better chance. The organizations that focus on the process will probably see their reputation damaged over time. The ones that focus on the people are much more likely to protect their reputation in the long run.
Coming to my final question, which organizations do you believe to be in the construction industries be the gold standard for implementing sustainability policies, both environmental and social?
So I think the gold standard looks quite different in different countries around the world. Obviously, there'll be different pieces of legislation and different approaches to supply chains. For example, the UK has had a Modern Slavery Act for a number of years now. And so larger organizations there are a little bit more developed in their reporting. So organizations like Balfour Beatty, for example, or British Land have really simple, clear procurement approaches which brings in the conversation around human rights and modern slavery into their policies, their processes, their procedures. So you can look at them online if you're a client, an investor, a supplier. You can also take a look at organizations like Gammon in Asia, or here in Australia at Mirvac or Stockland, both development, construction, property firms. And both of them are obviously working on their approach to human rights and modern slavery in their supply chains. They're mapping things out. But they're very clear about where this fits in what they do. They have their overall company strategy, they have their sustainability strategy beneath that, and underneath that, procurement policies, vendor codes of conduct, internal, external procurement policies. But they've embedded human rights and modern slavery within those. So you can see how all of the work connects up. And for a large organization with complex supply chains, that's essential. So the gold standard here means connecting all of those parts of the issues.
Thank you, Robin, for providing me an insight into such an important and a critical issue. I really appreciate your time.
It's been a great pleasure.